Hello, welcome to Let's Get Down to Business with the Prince Rupert and District Chamber of Commerce. We are here to give a voice to our local business owners, entrepreneurs, and community leaders to strengthen and support our local business community and to share the wisdom and experience of longtime business leaders and the fresh ideas and experiences of new entrepreneurs. So let's get down to business.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Daphne Thompson, and let's get down to business. Today, I have the most amazing and greatest pleasure to speak to Prince Rupert Adventure Tours with Jared and Hilary. So welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Would you please start by maybe just telling us a little bit about how did Prince Rupert Adventure Tours start?
Yeah. So hey, everybody. My name is Jared Davis. I'm the VP of Project Development for Adventure Tours. So to answer your question, it's a family business. My father started the business. We actually started doing just water taxi work back in the late 80s with a small 12-passenger water taxi. And while doing that water taxi work within the area, my father saw all the different wildlife that we had to offer. Nobody was really doing the tourism product here in Prince Rupert. So in 1994, we started offering whale watching tours. We did Circle Island tours, which we don't do anymore, unfortunately. And we then branched off into doing grizzly bear tours up into the Kootsmatine Grizzly Bear Sanctuary. We used to run a whole bunch of little boats, like 12-passenger. We had the Georgia Master, which is a 30-passenger, a 16-passenger, the Northport, and we would send them all out. And in 2007, the cruise ships were coming to Prince Rupert, and there was a huge demand for more capacity. So we went out and we built a 72-foot state-of-the-art, beautiful 100-passenger catamaran that we still use today. And people still comment on how beautiful the boat is. I still think it's the nicest tour vessel in British Columbia, and and we've been going strong ever since.
That's pretty amazing. So I assume the family is born and raised in Prince Rupert as well?
I'm actually the only family member born in Prince Rupert. My parents are from Kitimat, but they moved here in the early 80s. My father was a tugboat captain, and he was actually helping build the coal terminal at the time. And so that's what brought our family to Prince Rupert. And I think he wanted to be his own boss. So then he branched out and started doing his water taxi stuff and started doing the tourism stuff. And we have a couple other businesses as well. Eagle Bluff Bed and Breakfast we recently purchased last year, so we're kind of in the accommodation business, and McLean Shipyard as well, which we took ownership just before COVID hit. So we've been trying to make all that work. So we got lots going on, but the tourism product is I'd say it's our most fun. It's nice to be going out and putting smiles on people's faces and showing them the beautiful scenery that we have here in the Pacific Northwest, in Prince Rupert specifically. And
Let's go into a little bit of that fun part of it. Hilary, you are the main tour operator, right?
Yeah, so I'm one of the tour guides, and I'm on board for all of our bear watching and whale watching tours this year. I started with 2007 with the company as a tour guide, and over the years I've got to try a few different things, including deckhanding and marketing and being a booking agent as well. So that's kind of the beauty with, I think, small business, is that you get to try a lot of different things.
And tell us about this season. How's the tours been? What has been one of the most beautiful sightings that you've seen?
So this season, I think it's been different than any season before, because we had the 2.5 years off with COVID. And so we were away from the Kootsmatine for 2.5 years, and we really, it does change from year to year. And so we weren't quite sure what to expect first going up there. But I think it's been just the most amazing season. The bear viewings that we've had have just been wonderful. And I think it's just a testament to why that area needs to be protected for the bears was protected for the bears in 1994. And since then, every year that we've gone up there, we've only seen the bears continue to flourish. And I feel like the customers, the passengers that have come on board this year have had such an appreciation for being there, because we weren't able to do a lot of these things over COVID. And even for us, just having that renewed appreciation of just how amazing it is to be there, and to be there on nature's terms. At the end of the day, these are wild animals, and that's why people want to come here.
So have you seen a change in wildlife behavior from before COVID to now?
No, definitely not. But it's just a reminder when we went up there and to see the bears thriving, it's just a reminder that, you know, COVID was a very human problem, but to the wildlife, you know, life goes on, and they didn't really skip a beat, right? So it's more just that reminder for us that, you know, to be in this pristine wilderness and to be among these wild animals, we're there on their terms.
That is a different perspective to take, definitely. You said that today is the swap to whale season, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So right now is a really important time because the salmon are starting to run and they're returning to their home to be spawning again. And so this is the time when the bears start moving inland, and we won't see them along the inlet anymore. And this is also the time that the whales are returning from their migration south in Mexico and Hawaii, and they're coming back to the feeding grounds. So we very much build our tours around the natural migration and movement of the animals. And we've seen lots of signs that the salmon are starting to run again. So it's really exciting to be out there seeing that, because the salmon are such a keystone species for, you know, all of the animals as well as the humans on this coast. And again, it just highlights why it's so important to manage those fisheries properly so that all of the beings in this area can continue to thrive. And so that's a big part of our tours as well, is just the education of how everything in this area fits together.
So what kind of whales do you see on the tours, or what can we expect?
Yeah, so the most common whale that we see is the humpback whale, and humpback whales, they return to the same feeding grounds year after year, and we'll see the same whales year after year, as well as new whales, because the humpback whale population is increasing overall. And we also have the opportunity to see orcas as well as harbor porpoises, other marine mammals such as harbor seals and stellar sea lions. But I would say that the humpback whales are the most predictable whale. And so that's what we generally go looking to find. Whereas if we see orcas or harbor porpoises, they grace us with their presence where and when they want to do that. So that's a really added bonus and a really exciting part of the tour. Like, you know, we've been doing this for years, and yet there's still certain parts of the wildlife that we just don't know, because again, it's on their terms. So the humpback whale would be the most common whale that we see.
That is so fascinating and absolutely beautiful. So when we go on a tour with you guys, talk us through the experience. What can we expect?
Yeah, so with the Grizzly tours, we schedule all of our tours around the tides. So what time people are leaving at depends at what time we can be up in the Kootsmatine at low tide. And that's about an 8-hour day. And it's amazing how quickly that time goes by, because there's just so much to see along the way. We passed different villages. This is all unceded Tsimshian territory. We passed lighthouses. There's often marine mammals or other aquatic life along the way. The weather, there's always different. So we're always preparing people. You know, you have to come with the mindset that anything could happen. Bring all your layers, bring your waterproof layer. And then, you know, once we're looking for bears, the whole tone of the tour changes, because we have to be extremely quiet, extremely sensitive to the bears in their natural habitat to be able to see them. And then when we do the whale watching, I find we get a lot more locals on board, because it's about half the time. And the whole energy of the tour is different because whales are not sensitive to sound. And so it's just like a very relaxing thing where the whales have a very powerful energy, and it's very restorative to go and just be among those giant mammals.
Yes, that sounds absolutely fascinating. Are you guys still running? To when are you running this season?
Yeah, so we have, we're doing whale watching tours until September 3rd. And today is our first official whale watching tour of this season, although we have already seen many whales in the water.
And how do we book with you? If anyone would like to be part of this amazing adventure, how do we book?
Yeah, so we do have our website, adventuretours.ca, and they can go on there, and through the book now option, they're able to see all of the available dates and to choose their date and book online. And they're also more than welcome to come into our office in Cow Bay and book with us in person, or ask any questions they have, or call us on the phone and we can book them right into our system that way.
That sounds amazing. And how has the season been? Meaning, what have you been very booked? Has the cruise ships that come in had an effect on this?
Yeah, Jared, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. The season, it's been a great season. Our numbers are a little bit down from pre-COVID. I think there's still some of the European travelers are still a little hesitant on coming over to Canada with its certain restrictions that have been in place and changing. I think people are more so staying closer to home. We are seeing a lot more local people throughout British Columbia and Alberta, and the United States. So it's been a good season. The numbers are a little bit lower, but it's definitely nice to be back out doing tours again. And I think the numbers will grow throughout the year. So,
As there, Hilary, I know that we've got a limited time with you today. So is there something that happened in one of the tours that will stay with you the rest of your life?
Yeah, definitely. So a couple weeks ago, we had this tidal event, and what happened is that we had some of the biggest tides that we've had in the area in decades. And so what ends up happening is we end up traveling through areas like Metlakatla Passage, where the tide is so low that we're seeing areas of the land that we have never seen before. And another byproduct of that tidal event, they're called king tides. It's when the moon and the sun line up together and they have a bigger magnetic pull on the water, is we think that it ended up pulling a lot more fish into Chatham Sound, which is technically still part of the Inside Passage, because what we ended up seeing for about a week was the congregation of orca pods, and they essentially call them super pods.
Wow.
And so, of course, we keep the required distance from them that we have to keep in line with the DFO's regulations. But what happens is, instead of saying, oh, there's orcas off the starboard bow, is you're essentially saying, now the orcas are all around us. And that's something that, like I said, I've been on the tour since 2007 that I never experienced in my lifetime. And that's one of those things where you just have to be in the right time at the right place. And it completely blows people's minds, including ourselves.
Yeah, I can just imagine being there and feeling like what you said, that powerful energy of the these big, massive mammals. And it is just, wow. I wish I was there.
You'll have to come on board for the whale watching.
That just sounds, I won't lie, that is one of my personal bucket lists as well. So
but there was one other highlight. There was one other highlight as well, and I think we had quite a few people on board that came from overseas who said, we booked before COVID, and then of course, because we had to cancel because of the regulations, and we rebooked and rebooked, and we're here now 2.5 years later. So for those people, it just shows like we're so fortunate to be here. And I think sometimes when you live here, you forget how special this place is. And so to have people to put that much effort into coming and seeing this corner of the world, it really highlights how special and amazing this area is, I think.
That is very true. What would you say to the Rupertites of towards like the whale watching and the grizzlies for them to be on the tours? What message would you tell them?
I think I would say, you know, take advantage of what's in your own backyard, because I grew up here and I really wasn't out on the water before I started working with this company. And what I realized is that there was a whole world of this area that I was not seeing. So if you live here and there's things you haven't experienced yet, which to be honest, there's so many unexplored pockets of this area and so many special places that you can live here your whole life and still be discovering new things in nature and in the landscape and on the ocean and in the wildlife all the time.
Well, if that's not a call to action to go book your spot right now, I don't know what is. That is so inspiring. Thank you. Thank you very much, Hilary. Jared, if we can move over to a little bit more of the business side of Prince Rupert Tours and all the rest that you guys are doing. For other entrepreneurs that want to maybe start out, what would you say is something that's inspiring to do business in Prince Rupert?
I think what makes Prince Rupert special, like not only the wildlife, but the people that we have here, we're very community based. It seems like everybody works together, and that's huge. And being a smaller community, you have those connections that you can get a hold of city staff or the Prince Rupert Port Authority, or make those connections that it may be more difficult in a larger city where you're waiting months and months and months to get a hold of anybody. Everybody's very, seems to be very prompt in getting things done. And I think that definitely benefits Prince Rupert for other entrepreneurs. People are willing to help.
That can really be helpful, specifically when we're starting to face challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you're facing in Prince Rupert as a business owner, and how do you overcome those?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges all industries facing right now, well, there's a couple, but labor is difficult, all over the country. To overcome those challenges, you need to make sure that you're treating your staff and your employees as best as you can, and offering different incentives. And we're pretty lucky that most of our staff get to be out on the water watching whales and watching grizzly bears. So it's a pretty cool job. That's a big incentive right there. But labor challenge is tough, and uncertainty can be difficult too. Not knowing, is COVID going to come back like it was in this fall, and are we going to be able to have a tour season next year, and are you going to be able to keep everyone employed? That's always a bit of a scare to us, but we've been pretty successful. The tourism is a tricky industry to be in, especially in the north, when there's only 5 to 6 months of the year that you're able to do tourism. We are a diversified company that have other companies that we utilize our employees year round. So we do marine transportation year round throughout northern BC, and we utilize our tour guides as deckhands, and our tour captains as captains for our marine transportation business. So that's a big benefit for us. It's allowed us to continue moving on. And I know tourism was the hardest hit industry out of anybody throughout the pandemic, and a lot of businesses didn't survive. So we're so happy to be back, and the whales and bears putting on a show again. It's been really good.
So when you talk about diversification, for normal business owners, they usually stick to one sort of business loop, like one specialized field. What kind of or do you, with your diversification, is this in completely different industries, or do you also keep to kind of one sort of message or one sort of industry?
No, so our businesses sort of complement each other. So we have it's called West Coast Launch Limited. So we're a marine transportation business. So we're able to utilize our tour vessel in the off season when it's not doing tours to be able to bring passengers from point A to point B, or work with different industry. The tour boat during COVID was actually working in Kitimat, running almost every day back and forth for Rio Tinto. So that was a huge blessing for us. But yeah, that's what I mean by being diversified, is that, they always say don't put all your eggs in one basket. And, sometimes it can work for you and sometimes it can't. And so it doesn't work with every business though, but it's worked for us.
That's awesome. And with the new business that you guys just acquired?
Yeah, so we have Eagle Bluff Bed and Breakfast, which is the building that's right behind me here. Yeah, it's a smaller boutique bed and breakfast that has 7 rooms for rent year round. And yeah, it's a complementary business to our tourism product, that the passengers flying into Prince Rupert can stay here, and our boat's literally right outside of the bed and breakfast. And our office is actually in the bottom portion of the building as well. So you can check that out at eaglebluff.ca. And then we also own McLean Shipyard, and another kind of complementary business that we purchased just before COVID. It's actually the longest run business in Prince Rupert. It was a business before Prince Rupert was Prince Rupert. It's over 100 years old, and a big reason why we acquired that business is we have 8 vessels that we need to service and maintain to keep all of our businesses running. And we heard that it was going up for sale. We didn't know what was going to happen with the property, so we made the investment and purchased that to be able to maintain our fleet of vessels and also grow that business. We see huge potential over there. So yeah. So
it just sounds like you are kind of sticking in the same industry. It's just, I love what you said about it's complementary. So whatever you do has got a use for something else as well. So it's almost like creating everything in-house.
Yeah, very true.
So when you speak to other entrepreneurs or advice for other entrepreneurs having this model in mind, what advice can you give them that would help them grow their business, maybe increase profits, serve the community in a different way? What would you suggest to them?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think, being an entrepreneur, you have to have the drive. It's not easy. You have to be there 24/7. You look at the restaurant industry, and it doesn't really work unless the owners are the ones behind the kitchen and, starting up the restaurant and closing it down. And you need the passion to run a business. It would be nice if it just kind of ran itself and you can just hire people and just kind of manage from afar, but generally that's not reality. So that would be a bit of advice, that if you are looking to be an entrepreneur, just get ready to work hard. And and it's nice to be your own boss and to be able to kind of call the shots and come up with ideas and see them come to fruition. So that I think that's a definite advantage of being an entrepreneur. But yeah, I think you need the work ethic.
I agree with you on that. When you are an entrepreneur, a business owner, there is a lot more stress and a lot more pressure on you. You are ultimately responsible for all your staff members, all their families. That it comes with a lot of extra pressure. Then there's also reputation and the drive that you want to do good. You want to be amazing. You want this to succeed, and you want it to succeed not just for you, but the impact that it would have in the community. Work-life balance is very important in those things. How do you secure work-life balance in all the businesses that you run?
Yeah, I find that we don't really micromanage that much. We put faith in our staff and we let them run with it. Again, it doesn't work for every business to do that, but we've been lucky. We've had really good people, and we try to provide as much time off as people need. If you need to go have appointments or you need to go get your kids, and I think that's super important, where you're not stuck to that 9 to 5 where you can't leave. We're super flexible. Some days are longer and harder than others. I know for Hilary and the tour guide staff, the grizzly bear tours, they're long days. They're 7-8 hour tours, but our tour guides are down, hours before that. And as soon as the tour's done, they're cleaning the boats up, and then they're in Hilary, for example, she works in our office as well, and she helps with marketing, and she helps with booking people. So they're long days. I'm kind of getting off topic here, but I think it's a bit of a relief getting into the whale watching season today, and they're a bit shorter days. The work-life balance is a little bit better with the whale watching tour. So I think everybody's looking a bit forward to that.
That's amazing. I just think I love to hear the passion in every entrepreneur and every business owner's drive. I love to hear the vision that they have and how it is ultimately about the community, and ultimately it is about the people. It is about the people that you work with, and make that amazing and just have a lovely time. I think, Hilary, you have one of the best jobs ever. What would you say?
It's pretty fortunate to be out there and just to be able to observe the nature and the wildlife on a continual basis, and just start to understand how it all fits together. And then in terms of growth, working with this business, because I didn't have a business background before I started working here. For example, one of the things that I observed over COVID was, how we leveraged that downtime to strengthen the branding and the marketing of the company, so that all of those businesses were woven together, but yet differentiated, and we could show people this is what we have to offer in a very clear way, and just come out of that downtime even stronger. So, using challenges to rethink things and come out stronger. For example, we wrote a book that features Captain Doug's wildlife photography, so that we could send it out into the world, and people who couldn't come here could get a taste of it, but also they could show it to people. And then that just comes back to, actually bringing people here to the Northwest to be able to see what we have in person.
That is amazing. So from strategy perspective, you created a very creative lead magnet in order to share what you're doing and get people excited about this. I think that's brilliant. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And then as we closing this, Jared, what do you see for your businesses in Prince Rupert during the 2030 vision for Prince Rupert?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. Tourism, there's a huge pent-up demand. People want to get out, and I see opportunity to grow. We'll see how that works with our tourism business. Maybe there's opportunity to get another vessel. We don't have anything in the works right now, but you're always gonna keep your ideas open. I think for other entrepreneurs, like Prince Rupert is an amazing place because there are so many opportunities here right now. There's lots of jobs, not just in tourism, but lots of industry jobs, and tourism is a fairly untapped market in Prince Rupert. People have tried, like I mentioned, it's difficult with a 5 to 6 month window, but you just have to be creative and have that passion to make it work. And I'm super excited to continue growing the business. I know that my parents are, they work really hard, and I think they're looking forward to sort of slowing down a little bit, and myself and our staff kind of taking on a bit more work. So I'm optimistic, and I look forward to the challenge and to the growth of Prince Rupert, and to be able to provide, to show the world the amazing nature that we have.
That's amazing. So thank you so much, Jared and Hilary, for being on Let's Get Down to Business. We will definitely make a plan to get part of that tours and to make our bookings. So thank you so much for being here, for sharing, and let's get down to business.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Let's Get Down to Business with the Prince Rupert and District Chamber of Commerce. If you would like to be featured as a guest on a future episode, please email us at rupertchamber@gmail.com or direct message us on Facebook or Instagram at Prince Rupert Chamber.